Welcome, everybody. This is Dawn Weatherwax from Sports Nutrition & Go and Dawn Weatherwax's Sports Nutrition Academy. Our topic today is Fueling the Dream, an interview with a swimmer on sports nutrition and testing. And for those who know who we have today, is we have this awesome person here known as Grant House. Grant and I go way back. Grant, it is an honor and a privilege to have you on today.
Thank you, Dawn. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here, and glad I get to hop on as an Arizona State alumni now, to being those together.
I know. What do the finger thing? I don't even know if I ever learned that.
Pinky and a peace.
Again.
Pinky and a peace sign.
This?
Pinky and a peace sign. So peace sign and a pinky.
There we go. Am I got it right? All right. So, I'm also an ASU alumni. That makes this even more special, but sad to say I never did this until today. All right.
There you go.
Here we go. I'm going to give some accolades to Grant and give some background for those who will be listening to this later, and also for new people today. Grant has so many accomplishments. It started in high school, and Grant has won 8 individual state titles during his high school years in Ohio for his achievements. House was named Greater Cincinnati Male Swimmer of the Year for 4 years in a row from 2013 to 16. Leaving high school, House was the winningest swimmer in Ohio State High School Association history with 13 state championships, 8 individual, 5 relays, and to top it off, also 2016, they were the champions in water polo. His club began with the Cincinnati Marlins and ended up with the Countryside YMCA Torpedoes, and then proceeded to Arizona State University, which I was very excited about because that was where I went to school. And fast forward, because we could go over many accolades to this point in his life, but led Arizona State to the men's swimming in the Pac-12 men's championship. So they are the first time they've won Pac-12 men's championships in Arizona State history. And then you got NCAA runner-ups this year, first ever placing, I believe. Is that correct, for Arizona State?
Yeah, the highest ranking in program school history for sure.
That's fabulous. And then completed just a TRY series with some personal record times. He keeps getting faster. All right, Grant. I know you could even add many more to that, but let's get started with what we have today. All right. I know I'm asking you to go way back in time, but what was the main reason you decided to come to Sports Nutrition & Go way back in 2013?
Yeah, it's pretty vivid, actually. Pretty easy. I was selected to the USA Swimming national or zone select camp at Miami Oxford. Dawn actually came and spoke with us that day, and it was pretty incredible to hear how impactful just eating the food that I do every day can impact my training. And, being around so many phenomenal athletes at such a young age at that point, I was trying to look at every advantage I could have, to leverage myself over them and beat my competition. And I just felt like if I could implement those changes on a day-to-day basis, that if I did that 365 days a year, then my results would greatly improve. And I was very correct. And it's been something that I've just been learning and growing with ever since. But having Dawn speak at that zone select camp, I think in 2014 at this point, or maybe 13, was very impactful into just my understanding and experience with sports nutrition, but just healthy eating in general.
And I'm always going to put my 2 cents. I still remember him saying that when he heard me speak, and then the first time he came in, he goes, yeah, it took me like 3 months to decide if I wanted to work with you because I was looking around. I go, well, I feel really honored that you decided to come work with me then, that you did. And he was the only one, who would have admitted that probably. And that we started working together. And it still is very vivid in my mind. It was like yesterday that you came into the office. All right. All right. So Grant, do you remember, because of after doing the assessment, which back then we did a nutrition consult, we did the bod pod that measures body composition, we did your metabolism. What were your first impressions when you left after that first appointment?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I didn't know there was that many options. I mean, when I heard Don speak, I expected kind of like, oh, you should eat this, change that, move this out, or have this around your training sessions or race day. And so it was really interesting to see all these like analytics and objective measurements and really baselines that I could measure off of that and see improve, see fluctuate, see change as I grew, as I developed, and as I implemented more and more. Like doing the body composition bod pod was pretty interesting to me, not even knowing that existed before, but really just how structured and guided it was with Don, and the longevity in the plan. Like I remember Don would always talk about how things would change in years, and it came from the day-to-day implementations and changes. And that definitely was one of the first times I really started thinking about like a long-term plan in my life of where things can go if I do it properly each day, each week, each month, and really how each day builds on one another. So I remember walking out of that meeting very, very engaged and very optimistic about like how much this will impact me, rather than just like, oh, I'll change these things and then move on. But no, it's a step-by-step process, and gradually adjusting and changing and see how things improve.
And with that, right, because you mentioned some key points, the day-to-day but leads to a longer goal. How tall were you then, and how much did you weigh then?
Yeah, I think when I definitely started with you, I think I was probably about maybe 6 foot. I feel like I was probably 6 foot when I started with you.
You were
Um,
definitely 6 foot.
yeah. And I know I was around like 180 pounds or so. Somewhere in that regard.
Yeah,
Maybe
I believe you were 160.
160 then. So even lower than that. But yeah, I mean, now like sitting here today, 210 pounds. So I'm 6'6" as well. And about I guess I'd say, geez, at least 10 years older at this point now. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see like all the stuff Don told me like at the first couple meetings, that like you'll be at this marker, you'll be at this marker, you'll be this type. It's all accurate and it's all true now, being at Arizona State, and has been for the last couple of years especially.
And remember, you were in the 20 percentile in body fat,
Oh
and now
yeah.
you're at 7%.
Yeah, we still do testing at Arizona State University. And yeah, I mean, Don would tell me like you'll be a lot lower percentage, like around like 7, 8, 9. And that's like where we're working towards. And it was kind of hard for me to believe. I think my first one was like 28% body fat or something like that. And I was like, all right, this I mean, I'm sure she's right, but I'll believe it when I see it. But yeah, over my time here, like when I started at ASU, I think I was like 13 or something percent
Mhm.
body fat, and that's just changed as I added more strength training as I developed and got older, which was one of the biggest components that Don would always tell me is once you get more strength training in your system, once you actually grow into the body that you have, the height, then it'll start to just take care of itself, really. But putting those foundational principles in place was huge. I know.
And I always point this out too. I need you guys to understand out there, this gentleman in front of us has put on a minimum of 55 pounds of lean weight. That compares to many of my other athletes that I've worked with in power sports, and swimming is not known as a power sport, but this young man in front of us has put over 55 pounds of lean weight. And as he's talking about, the goal is when he first came in, and knowing how tall he was, he had an idea how tall he was going to get. And then you just set those goals where you're going to put on lean weight over time to maximize the power in the pool. Do you remember what the first goals were, and then maybe what the long-term goal was, maybe just for the first year when we started working together?
Yeah, I know. I think all I really had that expectation of was, I mean, you kind of guided me on the baseline of getting the body fat percentage and getting like my basal metabolic rate, just kind of where we could start from a starting point. And I was just curious to learn and have guidance on what I can do better, to be a better athlete and to eat better, to fuel better for performance. Just always having the idea of how can I be a better swimmer, a better athlete. And then everything else that I got, from the first consultation, the first couple meetings, especially, were just so far beyond what I even thought possible. That it was a pretty easy decision for me as buy-in, and to knowing that this would be successful and this would work. So the exact goals, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure our collective goal is probably to get under 20% within the first year. I feel like that had to be a solid goal. But outside that, I remember myself I just wanted like relative improvements. And when I came in there, I realized how much more impactful it can be.
And you kind of already, you kind of answered this a little bit, but after that assessment, what were you thinking when you left? And be brutally honest, what were your thoughts?
No, I mean, it was definitely kind of a crazy cool experience. I just didn't expect to have all the math, have all the tools, have all these resources to utilize and leverage me before. And so it was kind of like very interesting. I honestly, it kind of makes me laugh. I felt like I was like at NASA or something getting like tested. But like in the same way, our body is like the most powerful machine in the world, and it needs to be treated as such. So all these tools and all these resources are, I mean, I tell the guys here at Arizona State all the time, like when we just got a sign up sheet for body composition over the weekend. And I always make sure to tell all the guys, like, especially the younger guys, like, start doing this now. The more data points you can get, the more tracking you can do, the more information you're going to get out of it, and the more insight you can have as your season changes, as your body changes, and in the whole time of your career. I mean, just in high school, it's a 4-year career. In college, it's a 4. If it's both, it's 8. And luckily, I have numbers from when I was a freshman in high school all the way now to when I'm 6-year grandpa in college. So it's been crazy journey.
And I love you. You're funny, Grandpa. And what do you guys use? What's your measurement tool at Arizona State for body composition?
We started out with calipers, and that was the first year. And then we changed to, I received a DEXA scanner one time, very fortunately. That was a unique experience, the gold standard, I believe, thus far. And then basically what we do is the electrical, I don't even know.
InBody? Is it?
The InBody. Yeah, we use InBody now. And so that's just a lot more manageable than having everyone in a DEXA scan. I'm sure a lot more financially feasible too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to do that, and it's been more consistent without the calipers for sure.
Great. Yeah, and it really is data points. I have always told people lean weight is how you can get better and faster. It's you streamline yourself, you can be more powerful in the water. And then on my side of the fence, what I mean is from the new sports nutrition piece, it guides how to get better, and your training can match that. I feel it's a positive measurement. Do you feel it's been a positive measurement? Because that body composition part, once in a while, people take it negatively. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Don and I were talking before, like taking things, I used to take things like too personally, not with Don specifically, but just in general. And I think for men, it's a lot easier not to take it with a negative connotation. I think just like females in general, like struggle with that a little bit more because there's more pressure on them from society, unfortunately. But as I kind of started learning about this and getting exposed to it from Don, like I would always just see it as another piece of information, something to adjust, to change, to be happy about, to learn from. And so I always see it as a really important piece of, after, did you gain too much weight after taper? Because we'll do it every in increments of like 4 to 5 months, and really to like allow the body to make significant changes. And, like just today alone, I saw 8 guys in the strength training room weighing themselves, because they're like constantly thinking about it and just monitoring it and noticing it before they get in the water for training, and then after their training day's over, to see how much water weight they lost and see how they're fluctuating and see how they're feeling in the water. So it's constantly on their minds, and I think it's really, really important to have more context than just your weight, because that can change with how much water you had that day, that morning, that night before, what have you, what you ate the night before too. But having all the percentages, the data points, for everywhere in your body really is much more valuable.
Yeah. So to use science to your advantage, not as a negative, if you use it properly and discuss it properly, then you can set goals. Also, we had done your metabolism. Do you remember calorically, how do you think you were consuming then? Did you feel when you first came in, you thought it was enough? And then when you left, where was it? And how much fuel do you think you can even consume today?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am much more comfortable eating a lot more today. I think that's why I've been able to eat or gain as much lean muscle mass as I have, and add weight too, to really grow into like the height of my body. I think when I first walked in, I didn't really have like a relative idea. I just kind of ate when I wanted to, or didn't eat sometimes. And
Mhm.
I got to thank my mom a lot. I mean, all through high school, she woke up early, made my like structured lunches with the meal plan and menu plan that my mom, or that Dawn had made for us, and me to kind of follow. And making the dinners when I was at home too, and coming to Arizona State to kind of follow that template and follow that guideline and learn along myself and start implementing myself. But I definitely remember it was always like, you're going to be eating more. You need to like keep adding more, like you're burning so many calories in the pool, like training twice a day, swimming for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, training for 4 hours. It wasn't something that I fully really felt, I'd say, whenever I was in like a depletion, until college, when the training was just such a different level than I'd ever experienced before.
Mhm.
And the days were just, it was all on me. There was no one else around. It was on me to figure it out. But that's when I really knew I started to have to making sure I'm eating in a caloric surplus, not just right under, right around, but making sure my body is comfortably well ingesting well above the calories that it might just need, or like we figured out. But it definitely needs much more to continue performing, not just for that day, but throughout a whole week, throughout a month. Because if you're a little bit off one day, then you're already starting behind for the next day. And if you just have a couple margins under the threshold every day for a week, the whole next week is already starting behind by even a larger amount. And you do that week on week of being behind, then that adds up to cause some pretty detrimental aspects, like hormonally and other aspects too. So properly fueling every day, like I said at the start, is so vital.
Yes, and understanding that correctly. All right, we're gonna forward on to highlighting your outcomes. So tell us some highlights of how your high school season ended or came about, highlights of your college season, and then some world and pro aspects of your swimming career so far.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, it's easy to start with the first year, because that was arguably, I'd say, one of my greatest seasons of swimming ever. I don't think it's a coincidence that I just started working with Dawn and just been to a great zone select camp. I think there was a lot of factors that changed, that just streamlined and compiled. I joined St. Xavier, and it was one of the most intense experiences of my life. Especially that first year, just getting such a different training style, and wanting to step up and race the juniors, the seniors, race all of like the historical history that the St. X had beforehand too, of these national champions, these former Olympians, just everyone, that the entire facility just surrounded you with greatness. So really just stepping into a whole new environment, and almost breaking the state record in every event on my freshman year, dropping almost, like, I think 5 or so seconds in every event I swam that year. Just a really, really big moment for me to step into a national spotlight, and really see like how much success and improvement I received in just a year by making all these changes of moving into an elite level swim club, changing my club team, changing my nutrition, and actually caring about it for the first time seriously. And then that summer as well, the same thing happened with a long course season of dropping um, some upwards of double digit times sometimes in place and winning YMCA nationals as a team as well too. So it's just a really, really unique time frame for me to have all that success and opportunities throughout the year, and just understand the process. And going on from that and carrying that success, I had the opportunity to represent Team USA 2 times and Dublin, Ireland for the NCAA team. And then one of my biggest memories and experiences I've ever had in my life was 2015, going to Singapore, and representing Team USA, the junior national team, for the 4x200 freestyle relay with Sean Grisham, Maxime Rooney, and Grant Schultz on the relay, and our coaches were Jack Roach and Mitch Dalton, two of my biggest influences still today. And winning gold there on the world stage for the first time, and also setting the world junior record. And so that just kind of really geared my mindset of this high achievement, working towards these international teams, representing Team USA as much as I can. And, the rest of my high school experience kind of continued on in that success pattern. It wasn't as big time drops in those specific events every time, but continued to improve every year, fortunately, and thanks to all the training. And then kind of transitioning that onto the college scene, just again, like that first year of the elevated training program took me on to 2018 in the summer. It was really interesting in the spring. I had a pretty unfortunate, I'd say, like, versus my expectation. I performed well at NCAA's, but it definitely was not what I expected to, based on what I'd worked and prepared for. And then that summer, it was really a lot of delayed gratification and really blossoming. I posted a top 25 time in the world. I was at nationals in Irvine, California, dropped seconds, a handful of seconds, 6, 5, and over 10 seconds in all my events, best times in every event at nationals. And it was really one of the most unique opportunities I've ever had to see all that work flourish and really be a delayed aspect. And that summer I missed out on qualifying for world championships by a couple marks, and because of some semantics with USA Swimming of having to qualify in certain ways. But I was able to qualify for the World University Games team in 2019 and the Pan American Games team for 2019 as well, and was able to gold medal at World University Games in Naples, Italy, and then also double silver medals in the 4x100 freestyle relay, 4x200 freestyle relay in Lima, Peru, and also finished 4th overall individually in the 200-meter freestyle. Although there were some complications with that event the night prior, but it's not an excuse. It was just a unique experience for sure. And continuing that on, just elevating my college ranking every year, finaling in the 200 freestyle, and then adding the other events along the way, All-American and relays every year from my sophomore year on, and doing really well at the 2021 Olympic trials, placing 9th in the 200 freestyle, 9th in the 200 IM, 17th in the 100 freestyle. And then fortunately this last summer, I got the chance to represent Team USA in the historic duel in the pool competition with the USA versus Australia, or the USA versus all of Europe. This time it was in Sydney, Australia. Ooh. And Team USA fortunately won, so I was able to contribute to that as well on a couple individual events and relays. And
that's a big one, because the Aussies are big. They're good.
Yeah,
that's a big rival.
It was definitely a big rivalry. It was cool to have that like kind of college environment in the international play and international pool too. And there was a meet after that as well that they opened up to anyone to attend. It was kind of like the Australian short course meters nationals and qualifications for their world championship meet. but they welcomed anyone who wanted to stay, and I decided to stay, and was hadn't raced short course meters ever before, but I was excited to race some of the best in the world, and posted top 5 and top 10 times ever recorded in American history. So that was a really, really unique opportunity and experience that I didn't really expect. I expected to swim well, but was glad to be pleasantly surprised with the accolades and the level that
I
came with
bet
it.
you surprised a couple of people at that moment in time as well on the other end, right?
Yeah, hopefully. And then like Don led with, it all kind of culminated. So a big reason I came to this program was to elevate it to heights that it's never reached before. And we were the first non-California team in the history of the Pac-12 to win Pac-12 men's swimming. First time in Arizona state, but also the state of Arizona's time winning the Pac-12 ever in men's swimming, and then the highest ranking that we've ever had at the NCAA level. So very unique, very special. I placed higher in a couple events than I did last year individually, and was able to contribute on all of our relays that moved up from last year as well, and had some of the highest rankings that we've ever had before, and virtually tore down our record board as many times as possible. I think between this year, I know last year we broke 68 records over the course of the year. And with this year, we did it even more so. So I'd have to say probably over 100 records broken in the last 2 years of our team program. So that kind of encapsulates it. That encapsulates it all.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive in the history books, how many times you're breaking history and your name's going to be listed in all these years of all the broken records. They probably should add up how many records you've broken.
Yeah,
that should be part of your accolades as well. Okay, I'm going to ask some fun questions here. Is describe a day in what you used to eat and a day you eat now.
Yeah, do we want a day I used to eat before I met you, or
yes, if you can remember, and then go to now.
Yeah, I mean, I think all my family members would probably laugh at this one, but I mean, when I was growing up, when I was like 8, 6 or 7 or 10 years old, I'd say, I mean, I was always around the pool. But I always had to kind of fit to that schedule. And I mean, sometime when I know when I was like 10 and under, it would be very consistent this of like like McDonald's, like bagel or something in the morning, get to the pool, watch the high schoolers swim. Then my parents take me to my school, have whatever's at lunch that day, like milk, pizza, maybe some vegetable on the side. And then come back for practice in the afternoon, wait for the high school team to be done, have pizza rolls while they're practicing, and then go and swim my practice training session. Then after that, the family would be done now that I had trained the last one, and we'd head home, and it could be anywhere from pasta, mac and cheese, and having my dad just grill out a bunch of food, chicken, burgers, brats, and just having those. No real regiment to it, just kind of that sequence of it. And when I got to high school, it was definitely a lot more regimented once I talked to Don. But yeah, typically it would not be too structured just be make sure you had something at breakfast. My mom started packing some lunches in elementary school for sure. That was kind of like the highlights of my days in elementary school sometimes, for what she would make me or what notes she would send me to. Aww. And then at night, it started to get a little bit more regimented when my brother really stepped into a higher performance level of his own in high school, and really started cracking down on that. It was leaner meats, like just chicken more consistently instead of like mac and cheese or noodles. It would be rice or like quinoa, couscous, more complex carbs, and more vegetables as well too. So yeah, kind of moved from these like quick and easy meals, a little bit more structured, and then now very defined. It's like this morning I woke up, had oats and fruit before practice,
And how do you make your oats? With water, milk, what you do?
Yeah, just with water and milk, and I'll put some protein powder in there to make sure I have that in there as well. Have some fruit, strawberries,
Any healthy fats?
bananas. I'm sorry.
Any healthy fats with that?
Not before practice, right in the way. Just something that I can like instantly like utilize in the practices. I'll have electrolytes and a carbohydrate, Vitargo. Which I remember distinctly with Dawn, I was very heavily against and I didn't like it, drinking it. But now I essentially, without being sponsored by them, I am a Vitargo poster boy. So I recommend it to everyone on the team. It is my lifeline during every main set, every day, and utilize it a lot. So I'll have that during practice. And then fortunately, we have some different sports nutrition here that's available. We have fruit cups, bagels, different nutrition bars, protein shakes, ready to drinks, RTDs, we call them. So I'll get, like 2 bananas in me after swim practice, 20 grams of protein, head to the weight room. Sometimes have another thing of Vitargo there. And then after strength today, I had 30, or I think it was 30 grams of whey protein isolate, 5 grams creatine. And then I made an egg sandwich with 3 eggs, avocado on both sides for some healthy fats, 2 pieces of toast, and some more fruit.
Any veggies?
Veggies I typically save at night, for how I enjoy eating throughout the day. But yeah, I typically every night I'll have either.
Well, don't jump yet. Go back to, because I got people listening who wants to know what you eat. So you had your omelets and I diverted you. Okay. And then what else with that meal, or what did you?
No, it was just the protein drink, some fruits, and the sandwich, for right now, because I tried to move fast through weights today, but body was telling me to slow down a little bit, focus on the quality, is what I'll tell myself. But that's what I had up until the call today, call right now. So that sits me at about like 2,000 calories, where I'm at right now, and I'll probably aim to get at least, with how today's intensity went, at least 25 or 2,000 more calories. And then just kind of see where my body feels, like if it needs any more at night, or not after dinner.
Okay, so let's pretend it was yesterday. So take off what you ate after this time yesterday, and understand I'm interviewing an East Coast time and he is 3 hours behind us.
Yeah, currently 3:30 p.m. for me.
What would you eat after that? Go pretend rewind a day and go from that point to what you ate after that.
So last night for dinner was a cup of broccoli, a couple Brussels sprouts, 8 ounces of steak, and then 2 cups of couscous. So that's pretty standard for me. I really value including red meat now in my diet. I see a lot of benefits from having it on fatigue, and with my history of like hormonal levels and blood levels and iron levels too. I think it's really important for me. Every Wednesday and Friday, I try to have fish for dinner instead, salmon, to get healthy fats, omega-3s in there as well. And the grains don't typically change too much. You'll probably find anywhere from a cup to 2 cups of sweet potatoes in my dinner every night too, and just different seasonings and different styles on the Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Those are my 2 favorite, and just having some avocado pretty much with every dinner too. Cooking with extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil as well. But
any evening snack?
Typically if I eat early enough, class schedules made that a little bit difficult this year, getting home at 7:30. I'm trying to get in bed before 10 already, and eating at 7:30 or starting my meal at 7:30 to cook it. If I didn't meal prep that week, then I'm not going to really eat until 8:15. But typically I'll always try to have a smoothie of some sort, some berries. That's when I get a lot of my like blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. I learned raspberries are super good for releasing melatonin and sleep. So I always try to have those at night. And something easy to digest in liquid form in a smoothie, but I'll have 30 grams of protein to digest overnight and recover and repair from the day of training, berries for good antioxidants, and then cashew, almond, or coconut milk for the base is what I typically go to. And I'll typically put some peanut butter in there too, for more healthy fats and just maintaining health and satiety throughout the night.
And it sounds like what, over 5,000? Where are you at? 4,500,
I'd
5,000?
say I'd say 45. Yeah, I'd say 45 because it could easily be like probably upwards of 6,000 too. But I just now I'm able to and I'm so aware of it now, but I just focus on such quality of nutrient in the foods that I have that my body, I mean, I know when I'm not eating as much high quality that my body just responds differently. It's satiated quicker, it fills up quicker, and it tells me that rather than just, oh yeah, you need more of this processed food, you need more of these like this non like very nutrient, vitamin, mineral rich food. But that's really why I try to prioritize such nutrient dense foods, is to kind of optimize that as best as possible.
How did you balance that change when you first started way back when with me to now, to give advice to people out there about balancing those food preferences you started with, those pizza rolls, McDonald's, the good old days, to where you are now? You know, there's athletes out there listening to this, wondering your answer. How did you do it, Grant House? How did you those preferences change? What advice do you have for people out there?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot of small changes gradually over time. I didn't jump from just having those pizza rolls to this. Fortunately, I had very positive influences. Like, I honestly think this is a message to the parents and to the older siblings that you ultimately have the biggest impact on a younger athlete or younger sibling or member of your family, or a coach too, to reiterate that after practice, like, all right guys, like, great training today, and make sure you're refueling properly and recovering properly with good food and nutrition to be better for tomorrow. And that's just how I started looking at it. It wasn't like this food's bad or that food's, I shouldn't eat that. It's all right, I'm having this right now, how could it be better? And then be like, okay, like this, I could change this or that, and this would help me be a better athlete and perform better. And that's just kind of how I started looking at a lot of different things in my life, and people I wanted to hang out with, foods I wanted to have, things I wanted to do. Will this help me become a better person, a better athlete, perform better? And just asking these small questions instead of like, no, I can't do this, or oh, I'm upset at myself, I should do that. Like, not having that negative relationship with myself, but posing the question in an uplifting and optimistic way of how can I learn from what I have in front of me and be better than that going forward, is really what it started. And it was just, again, going back to that, I'm very disciplined and habit driven person. So it was really just a day by day and week by week. I mean, I'm sure there were other emotions that she had, getting up so early sometimes to make these ridiculously heavy meals sometimes, or lunches throughout the day of her son. But my mom and I would like sit down for 10 minutes or 15 minutes on Sunday and be like, all right, so here's the menu. What do you need? Like, do you need to change anything on Tuesday, Thursday? You said you're hungrier that day. And just talking with her, or adding in stuff myself, taking an extra piece of fruit or snack bag on the way out in the morning, whatever it may be, just communicating with my parents and my mom and my siblings was really like the most impactful way, and them just supporting me and assisting me the whole time. Like I said, from that time period when I was 10 and under, to really have this unique exposure from my brother, to see him start to perform and care about a lot of his body when he was training, what my dad was doing for him with nutrition, with supplementation, and just on the day-to-day process of me getting home, playing in the backyard, and seeing my dad grilling all this, I mean, ultimately delicious and healthier food, all this protein, that we would go. And fortunately for me, I was able to have a full family meal most nights, and really guide that towards seeing my whole family make a commitment to eating better. And I know now, like my family eats so much differently and healthier than we did when I was 10. And it's just a testament to all of us. And really a testament to you, Don, like making that initial impact, not on just my life, but like everyone started to see what I was eating. And it was like, wow, okay, if we're going to buy food for this guy, he's already eating 70% of the food in our house. So we might as well hop on too. And it's changed my family's life to just be eating better and healthier.
And you noticed the difference and you saw the
Yeah.
times get faster. And I think the proof's in the pudding, right? Where you could believe me by faith, which you did at the beginning, but then when you start to see all the accolades and how you feel, and now you really can associate the differences with your food choices and things and how you perform.
Yeah, exponentially as well.
All right, next question. What are some common misconceptions about sports nutrition and testing that you've encountered as an athlete during this process? I'm sure you've been encountered by many.
Yeah, I think one of the first ones is, improving. A lot of athletes seek improvement, but there is like a limit to like the score or the numbers, like for body fat. Like as a swimmer, I think if you're anywhere below, 6% or so, like there's going to be some hormonal or health issues that arise, or you'll be getting sick more often. And a certain level of body fat percentage is healthy. And people need to not be so like regimented on that number. Like some people might look more defined at a number, some people might not. Not everyone's going to look the same way. And I feel like, especially in swimming, when we're basically our whole body is exposed for men the whole time, or women as well, we have this image of what it should be, our body image should be or shouldn't be. And it's just so different for everyone else, everyone in the world. And so I think, like for women, it's actually not even healthy for them to be like real, especially below like 12%, but like 16% is kind of like, okay, we need to reevaluate of, just what's healthy and like what's healthy for their life, their well-being, like their future as well. With like the female athlete triad. That's something a lot of female athletes don't even have any idea what that is. And it's super important to consider. I think one thing in swimming that is pretty predominant is, yes, we need calories, but a swimmer just saying, oh, I can eat anything I want. And yeah, anyone can always eat whatever they want. But I always made the analogy, kind of like I was saying, how does this make me perform better? Like when Ferrari's getting their F1 car ready, they're not putting unleaded fuel in it. They're putting probably something above premium fuel, but they're
A super elixir.
yeah, they're putting the highest quality fuel in their car, whether it's a Lamborghini, an Aston Martin, whatever it is, the finest cars, the fastest cars, the most beautiful pieces of machinery in the world are running on the most optimal fuel. And why should my body be any different? And so really shifting that narrative of I can eat everything and anything to what are the best things for me to eat, I think is one of the biggest misconceptions of swimmers. Like, oh, I just train. I did, I don't have to say this anymore, but I did like 18,000 yards today. And I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And it's like, no, like, yeah, you're probably really hungry and that's reasonable, but you can still have like a choice of what's going to be beneficial and what's going to be not as beneficial for you. So I think the misconception of being too attached to numbers, and then also that you can just have anything and everything you want for swimmers, especially.
And what advice would you like to give athletes out there listening and parents? What should they do starting to consider? How would they, what would you give to young athletes who are just starting to consider the role of sports nutrition and testing in their training and performance? So what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty close to, what you told me at the start too, Don. It was just make small changes and be willing to, experiment and try different things, try different food, try different fruit, whatever it is, just to see if you like it or you don't. And I think the biggest thing that really kept me really engaged with it and really optimistic about it was I told you up front, I was like, Don, I really like these foods. I know they're not the best, but like I really like these a lot, and like especially eating them like every other day or sometimes during the week or like when I've had a really hard practice. And your response wasn't like, no, you can't eat that. It's like, okay, like let's have it 3 times instead of 4 times, or let's have it twice instead of 3. Like just taking it a little bit away without eliminating it completely is, I think, one of the biggest things that I've learned in my time. Is there's so much to gain in elimination, addition by elimination,
Mhm.
addition by subtraction. So when you take away something or remove something, it's actually more beneficial than adding something else on. Because if you're trying to change too much at one time, you might not know what it actually is doing productively, and 2, it might be too much for your body to really give it a chance to figure out. And something like my mom, she's commented on there, would do in high school was actually she would have these things called Try It Tuesdays. So in my lunch every Tuesday, there would be some like new item. It could be like peanut butter and jelly tortilla wrap with banana and like cinnamon sprinkled on it. And it would just be like different things in there that were outside the normal, a different snack bag, a different like bar, a different like sandwich bun or whatever it was, just something very creative that she did, that made a big difference. Like I actually was looking forward to it. People at my lunch table were actually like, what's the Try Tuesday today? Which is comical for me to look back on now. But I think my biggest aspect, like I said, would just be that you don't have to eliminate everything at once, or at all, really, if it makes a big impact on you. But how can you maybe change the things that aren't helping you as much, just by a little bit? So, like I said, instead of eating out like 4 days a week, maybe you do 2 times a week, but as like a family or something like that, or only having those 2 times when you're really on a time sensitive constraint, or if it's like a food item. I know like when I worked with Don, it was like, here are like, I think it was a free, I think we called it a freebie.
Yeah, I did. I still call it
Yeah,
that, like a
yeah, and it
freebie.
was like, here's like 2 freebies that you get on these days because you're so much training. Like you do what Grant likes to enjoy.
Mhm.
So do whatever you enjoy, like within a certain thing. It doesn't mean just like blow out the entire day and do everything. Like still follow your schedule, but oh, like, okay, yeah, like I am gonna go out to ice cream with my friends tonight because I want to have that and I want to have fun with them, and not just being like, oh, like I can't do this, I shouldn't do this. But it's like, no, like enjoy yourself, and you don't have to like throw out everything out the window, just because it doesn't align exactly 100% all the time.
You don't have to be 100% to be successful.
Yeah.
You don't, and you know that. And I want people to know that you have been very successful, but I've never wanted you to be 100% on nutrition. That's not even healthy. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're successful eating some freebies or some ice cream or other
Yeah.
things. And I am going to ask your favorites in our quiz in a minute. What would you like to say to parents about this process? And you're now almost done with college here. What would you like to say to the high school parent, and how did it differ when you switched to college?
Yeah, I think again, like it's just so impactful, the role of older role models, older influences, then you really understand. I mean, I think it's even being an exercise science major, and in my undergraduate bachelor of science in that now. It's so crazy, just the mirror neurons, what your younger kids, your younger siblings, younger influences, just by seeing you do something, they're learning from that. That's being a part of their genetics and their DNA, and just learning from you, and really walking the talk, like practice what you preach. If you're like, oh, like you should have something healthier, like no, like we're gonna eat something healthier, or we're gonna have a family dinner, and really taking the time to like slow down, enjoy the meal, make it healthier, and do it together. Don't just make your athlete or your son or daughter like do that by themselves and like you're eating differently. but like go work out if you want to set a good example, eat better if you want to set a good example, like stay more accountable, be more disciplined. It makes such an impact, like to have fortunately for me, like a family of very driven, very regimented and organized people. There's always like a plan in place. There's always a next step, something to move forward to, and everyone had their own schedules, but something very like unique to my family was somehow, and my brother and I talk about all the time, and my sister do too, is, I mean, she might have a better idea now that she actually has had a family for a while, but like how you have all these different schedules, but still come together at the end of the day and have this great meal where you sit down and yeah, it just makes me smile to think about it, but just taking the time to be with your children and to be together with them, not just like, okay, these are your meals, now I'm gonna go eat this crap and this stuff over here. It's like, no, we're gonna try something new, we're gonna do it together. Maybe we might laugh about it, we might not like it, maybe we'll really like it, but
Yeah.
we'll have it tonight and then maybe we'll change it tomorrow. But
Well,
I think that's,
kumbaya, the experience
yeah,
together, whether we like it or not.
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And in college, it's just checking in with your kids. Like that's the biggest thing. I moved over 1,500 miles away from home. So sometimes it was good, sometimes it wasn't. And but just checking in, like, how are you doing? How are things going? How's your, like, how are you doing mentally, emotionally? And sometimes like if I was off, I'd be like, yeah, I didn't eat enough today. I didn't do this. I like didn't have time to eat. And it's just like, okay, like just talking it out. Like, what can you do better? Is there anything I can do as a parent? Like, what do you need help with to maybe be a reminder? Do you need me like text you on a Tuesday at 1 p.m.? Like, hey, make sure you get a fruit, or something like that. And
It's
always
turned into Texting Tuesday.
yeah, and my mom always FaceTimes. She always knows when there's something something that's important. She needs to see the physical side of things. I wear my emotions outward on my sleeves, but um so it's just important to get your eyes on your kids and have that. So I think that's a great sentiment to FaceTime and call rather than texting, whatever it is. I'm a big advocate of FaceTiming, calling too, and it just makes a much bigger impact. But there's only so much you can do once your kids go to college. It's just helping them afar and just knowing that they're there.
Yeah, I love that thing that you said about FaceTime, especially with the ones you love, because other people, I'm like, yeah, I don't want you looking at me. Even now I hate it, but I I love those advice from both of you. That's so impactful because that it is the face to face and that emotions. The same thing with dinner, having people around you that you love and finishing a long day sometimes with people that can just uplift you and go through the heartache sometimes with you as well.
Yeah.
All right, dear. Next question. Discuss times of overcoming obstacles and setbacks. And yes, swimming is one I'm always fascinated by this. So please share some of those things there.
Yeah, I think I actually answered this question the other day with one of our younger athletes, and like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm not doing well. And it's just, again, like a similar sentiment I've said already. It's just taking the opportunity in front of you. And we have a saying at Arizona State here in our athletic department of onward to victory, and every situation is win or learn. I think a lot of people, like, in today's society, might see that as a cop out of like, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. Like, yes, that's very obvious in life. That's a very like limited way of looking at life, but there's going to be ways to learn when you win. And then there's going to be probably even more ways to learn when you lose, because obviously the ultimate goal was not accomplished, but that doesn't limit the things in between. Like, maybe I did everything in my power, like at NCAA's this year, I did everything in my power. I improved every week of the year. And on the final day that I touched the touchpad, it wasn't what I wanted, but I still executed and performed the best of my abilities. And I took pride in that, but no, I could have done better. And for obstacles and setbacks, it's just seeing where you're at and moving forward from that every day. Like, in 2019, I broke 2 ribs. Not a lot of people know that. because I was in my Olympic waiver year and COVID shut everything down. But I couldn't even swim. I probably should have stopped swimming completely, in retrospect, for a couple weeks. But if I was like, okay, I can't swim, I want to stay in the pool and I'll just kick. So I just I took a week off and then I just kicked for 6 weeks after that. And I did a bunch of leg stuff and I got my lower body really strong and a lot of endurance there. So just optimizing and leveraging where you're at the time, have a plan to where you want to go, but just seeing what you can learn in that moment, as frustrating as it may be, or as frustrating as it may not be, just taking the time to analyze what went well and move forward in the best way possible.
Love it. All right. Review some of the mental aspects of the sport.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely changed over time. I have to thank my high school for that, St. Xavier, and specifically Tim Bierman and Jim Brower. They really cared a lot about me as Grant House, not the swimmer at St. Xavier or the swimmer. But Tim Bierman was the head of the religion department, and I took a class with him. I basically met him my junior year, and the first time we met, he was like, "Hey, Grant, I've been following you for many years now, and your family's incredible, and I look forward to being able to be a part of your life." And I was like, wow, that's quite the opening monologue from a person I've never knew existed before. But it was just a testament to everything I learned from him going forward. And I took a class in my senior years called Meditations with him, and it really was just being mindful of what's going on inside your body and just tuning everything else out, instead of getting your motivation from this article or something someone said or seeing what someone did, but like, what's going on inside of me? What do I need to like stop listening to? Again, addition by subtraction. Like, how am I doing in this moment? How am I doing with everything? And just being mindful about that. And that journey's like led me into understanding more about philosophy, reading. I journal excessively sometimes. Like, I mean, there's been tons of classes this year where my teacher was probably super excited that they thought I was taking notes. But I was just laying out pages upon pages of just what was going on in my head, what I was struggling with, what I was happy with, what I was missing, what I was sad about, and just getting that out on paper. So it's not just recycling and recirculating in my head, but I'd say take time to care for yourself, be mindful for yourself, get any negative or excess thoughts going on in your mind out on paper, and read, read a lot. And read more frequently. It doesn't have to be 100 pages in one day, but I always try to read 10 pages of a book every day. I mean, I currently have 10 books on my desk, and I'm currently reading 6 of them. But it's just like, tonight I want to read nonfiction, so I'm going to read 10 out of that. And tonight I want to learn, or this morning I want to learn, and I'll read 20 out of that. Or maybe I'll start on a book and I don't like it. But it's just listening to my body and being like, my mind and my spirit and my soul need this today. And those are the 3 outlets that I really do: taking time to meditate, journal a lot, and then read as well.
Very good goals, or very good insight and direction for those athletes out there. Discuss the importance of recovery. I see you post a lot. I've seen some things you do. Express what that is to you and the importance.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the biggest names of the game. Like, if you're not, you can do all the training you want, but like, especially at the college level, it's really hard, for kids who become of age after you go 21, and it's popular on many campuses too, everywhere. Like, you can find it as drinking or eating bad food, or what it is, but going out and doing the things that are beneficial for your body, because you can do all the work that you want, but if you're not recovering it and repairing your muscle fibers, giving it the fuel that you need, then you're basically training all this time for nothing. The recovery, I just don't think a lot of people understand, like, the recovery phase of it is where your body super compensates, adapts, and becomes better in that. So sleep and nutrition are the 2 things that impact that the most. and just utilizing that as much as you can, and making sure that that's a focus of all that you do, because all you're essentially doing when you're training is, it's important, it's super, super important, um, is breaking yourself down. But that process is necessary in order to build yourself up to be able to be better when you come from that, come out of that process. And the only way to come out of it, instead of continuing to break down, is proper nutrition, proper recovery, and different aspects. And it's gotten different as I've gotten older too. Like, I mean, I have more muscle, so there's more intense like muscular fatigue and breakdown too.
Mhm.
They have to be mindful of, and just getting older, definitely have felt that a little bit. Some days it's more than others, even at 24. But when you're operating at such a high capacity, like, you're not seeing Ferraris on the road every day. You're seeing a lot of Priuses, but the optimal athlete is not a Prius. So um, it's a bit different, and you got to figure out what works best for you. You know, I've really simplified the process. I've pretty much done everything under the sun that you can do. I mean, my honors thesis for ASU and the Barrett Honors College was on recovery or physiological adaptations to hot and cold exposure.
Yeah.
So, and that's how important in recovery is to me. Is I just wanted to dedicate a whole year to understanding that, and then delivering that to athletes at ASU to see how impactful they can do, and how it can, I mean, ultimately compromise or elevate your performance.
Go through a couple of things that you do as part of your recovery. I want to tap into one, definitely nutrition. Two, as far as sleep goes, I don't know if you caught it, but he says he tries to go to bed at 10 o'clock as a college athlete. And then you get up at what time?
It alternates between 5:15 a.m. and 9 a.m. on our
So
schedule.
we're talking what, 9 to 10 hours of sleep. Is that correct?
Uh,
What do you think? What
about
I got?
11 to 10
Oh,
on the days I wake up at 9.
okay.
And
11.
ideally 8 to 9, but it typically trends into 7 or 8 on the days that we have early morning practice.
Okay. And I wanted to point that out. Point out a couple of other things you were hitting on that you do as part of your recovery process that's been successful for you.
Yeah, for me, the sleep, I always go back to that, like we just talked about. But something that I've always, I mean, I even commented on a Pac-12s this year. The guys who, and it's been something I've been trying to instill every time, is how important the nutrition is at performances and meets, is whether it's training or a race and performance. Really emphasizing like getting proper fuel and nutrition into you as soon as the training session or a race is done, and starting that recovery process. So for me, I always try to get, because of my weight, size, and body height, 30 to 35 grams of high quality protein source, and at least double that, ideally more, and carbohydrates of like fruits, easy to simple sugars. We have a lot of cherry Bundy tart cherry juices out here that are in our weight room that are really good for recovery as well too. But like pretty good quality protein source, and quick sugars like fruits are what I like. But trying to get that into my body as soon as I, before, but we have all that stuff in the weight room or out by the pool. We have a devil room stocked with food, but just having that prepared with me ahead of time, like I did in high school all the time, where I could just eat it in my car, drink it in my car after practice on the way home, and then having a more substantial meal later. But yeah, I think one of the biggest aspects is like within the first 30 minutes after training, making sure I'm giving my body the fuel that it needs to recover. And then on top of that, non-sleep, non-food, there are these things called Normatec compression boots, where it's just air pressure that basically simulates like similar to like a massage type feel, but just circulates blood flow, lymphatic system, on your legs and on your arms, on your hips as well. I
How long
find
do you
those,
wear those?
it's different per person. I don't think I would go above 45 minutes, but I typically find a good window of 20 minutes, even 15 minutes sometimes, to 20 or 40 minutes. I really enjoy like 20 to 40 minutes, based on how fatigued I might be feeling. I also have 30-inch length legs, so it takes a little bit more time for that process to
Mhm.
happen.
Is there a timing window on that for you?
No, not as much
Time of day?
research like on the timing of that as much. Um, I mean, for anyone who does, I know cold tubs and cold showers and ice tubs are a big trend right now. And I mean, they have been for decades and decades, but a lot of attention is given to that and making sure athletes know, like, really to avoid that after any strength or sprinting. I thought it was just strength for the longest time, but it's really sprinting as well. Anything that's anaerobic and fast twitch and high muscular demand,
Mhm.
instead of like aerobic, cardiac, and respiratory. But so doing it after strength or not doing it after strength at all or sprinting, and then sometimes implementing it after really long and low intensity aerobic work, um, is something that I found beneficial during like really high volume blocks of training. But
I've
other
seen
than
you
that,
do contrast. Can you talk
yeah,
about that?
yeah, I really respond well to that. It's basically just thinking about like your blood, like your veins and arteries as basically um pumping blood flow in and out. So when you get in the cold, all your veins and arteries constrict. And then as you get in the cold, and then as you get into the hot, they basically open up and expand and allow everything to flood through. So it's a really good way to have better blood flow and like a pumping mechanism of getting metabolic waste out, good nutrients in, and just flooding the muscles, because as it's closed, you're just getting all this like beneficial nutrients building up. And then as soon as it opens up, it all just floods through and ideally accelerates recovery a lot better. So I enjoy that a lot. I like the sensation. I like the feeling. Um,
What's your
and
minutes to minutes when you do that?
Oh man. I start and cold for the like scientific amount that's physiologically beneficial. So I start 11 minutes in cold, and then I'll typically do 3 minutes in the hot and then 2 minutes in the cold. So
And what's
um
the temperature? Because you're gonna have people out there doing some crazy things. So what is the temperature of cold and what's the temperature of hot?
yeah, the hot is really honestly, for a hot tub, is anything above 98.6, just like body heat. Truly, like I mean, it's hard to always notice that at the times, but I would say it's typically above 100, for sure. 105 would be ideal, 110. And then for cold, that actually matters like a lot. The research says that it needs to be under, I'm pretty sure 50 degrees or 55 degrees Fahrenheit.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's like one of the most important aspects in order to make sure you're getting the most physiological benefits from it. Otherwise, it's not being as impactful. And it's just like you're kind of feeling that something's colder because your body temperature is, 40 degrees hotter than that. So that's really important on the cold, more so than the hot, until you get into like saunas and stuff like that.
Have you done or any other things you've experimented that you feel is useful or with your research, meaning cryotherapy, hot yoga, anything of that?
Yeah, I think like cryotherapy, if you got the bones for it, if you got the money, the dinero, it's a luxury. It's not needed. A cold tub, because of the water pressure, actually could like be more impactful, rather than just like the water temperature. So that's like a whole another aspect.
Mhm.
I like massage a lot. I always walk away feeling better than not than before.
And how
But I mean,
often do you do the massages and does it depend for you what time of day?
I like to do it after all my training's done, because I get deep tissue massage in,
Mhm.
because otherwise I just feel like you need to have the appropriate amount of force on your muscles for it to actually have any benefit. And I also know, like, with being as dense as I am and as big as I am, if I'm getting anything below an hour and a half, um, they're gonna end the massage and be like, oh, like, we tried to get everything, but you're just so big, and I just got tired of hearing that. So I always book a 2 hour massage and deep tissue. And for, again, 6'6", 210 pounds, that is kind of the bare, like, not the bare minimum, but
Mhm.
like pretty ideal for me. And then that's like, it's different. Like as I get to championship meets, maybe I'll do it like twice a month. Like the couple weeks before, like 2 times, 3 weeks out, or if I'm really like breaking down a lot and feel like I'm not performing, I'll like in like Christmas training sometimes, like I'll
Mhm.
slap one in there at that point too. And just figuring out what works best for me at that time. So anywhere from just it's kind of like a need by need basis of when I feel like I need it. Sometimes I'll do one like a week for a month if I'm really run down, and sometimes I'll go a couple months without doing it.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's so much out there, but since you've done some research on it, I know other people would like to hear what you do, because when you see yourself as an extreme, a pro athlete, and you see others out there, 38 years old doing some crazy things, or Messi or LeBron, where it's pretty amazing what they're doing with their bodies nowadays. And you
Yeah.
really respect it the older you get. So I know we're almost done, and I know I will be done with you in a minute. I hope I'm not making you late, because we are over. Are we doing okay? We have one more
Yeah,
minute.
we're good for a little bit more.
Okay. I have this fun game called Tell Us Your Favorites, and I would like to try to get it under 60 seconds or less. So, are you ready, Grant, for my quiz of favorites?
Okay.
All right. Okay, I got to get everything ready, so I give you every optimal second to get it. All right. So, ready, set, go. Your favorite fruit?
Mango.
Non-starchy veggie?
Non-starchy. Brussels sprouts.
A, a grain, a starch, or a complex carb?
Sweet potato.
Protein?
Steak.
Healthy fat?
Avocado.
Pre-practice snack?
Oh, I would say strawberries.
Pre-practice meal?
Pre-practice meal. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich or some type of sandwich.
Something during a swim meet. It could be food or fluid or both.
During the session, Vitargo. Afterwards, peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You got it. All right. Oh, I forgot. I'm wrong. Okay, this is my fault. Your favorite junk food or freebie snack and favorite meal?
Favorite freebie would be Grater's chocolate chip ice cream, triple scoop.
What about meal?
Waffles with a lot of syrup and bananas on top.
I love it. Way to go, Grant. You gotta love my 60-second quiz.
That was awesome. I like that.
I know, a little fun. All right. Well, we're at our finale. Grant, any final words you would like to say to our audience today?
Yeah, I just appreciate everyone's time. It was awesome to get to connect with you as always, Don. And just for everyone to know, like, this is one of the most important aspects that any athlete and any person can do in their life, because no matter if you're training 1 time a day, 2 times a day, 3 times a day, it's always an aspect of you're going to be eating. Like, we need food to survive. And rather than just eating food to survive, I look at it as eating food to thrive and to thrive for performance. And so it's just such an easy aspect that you can change and improve every day, that you're going to be encountering every day, that it seems pretty simple and an easy choice to just optimize it and make it as important as possible. And it's going to help you whether you're an athlete or once you're done with athletics, or you're just a parent looking to improve your health. Like, nutrition is one of our base needs in life. So treat it as treat your body like a temple, and as one of the finest machines in the world.
You're awesome. I want to thank you so much for everybody for listening to our interviewing and understanding the importance of sports nutrition and testing in achieving success. And Grant, it is always a pleasure being a part of your journey and hearing your progress. And thank you so much for this valuable time that you shared with me and others. And I'm just excited to see your progress in the future, how you do in and out of the pool. Again, you guys, thank you so much. This is Dawn Weatherwax from Sports Nutrition to Go and Dawn Weatherwax Sports Nutrition Academy. Have a great and healthy day.